What's up, guys? This is Jesse DeRozier with Hydrilla Gorilla Guide Service here on Lake Guntersville. Today's date is June 20th, 2025, and this is What's on the Deck. So this week we continued to catch really good quality fish. Today was a prime example of that. We ended up hitting one that was 7, another one over 6, multiple 5s, and had really good quality bag today. The lake is fishing really strong right now. You can either chase numbers or you can chase size. Obviously, if you go for the latter and chase size, you're going to have fewer numbers for the day. But the big bite is definitely going on right now. The fish are anywhere from literally in the shallows and 3 to 4 foot of water all the way out to 25-30 foot of water, and can be caught multiple ways. That being said, I'll do a breakdown of this week's baits based on kind of water depth and fishing situation, so that you'll kind of see what we did to be able to stay with the fish this week. Let's start with the shallows. So first and foremost would be probably bluegill beds. Bluegill beds have still been currently active. They continue to reload, so some of the older beds have completely just went away, and there's no longer fish roaming around them. Or you may run into a situation where you've got one bed that's just been non-stop influx of new waves of bluegill coming up and spawning in the same location. If you can find those locations, those tend to have the bigger fish roaming around them, and in that circumstance we've still been continuing to chase them with the wacky worm. That green pumpkin with chartreuse tip has probably been one of my favorites to throw around bluegill beds. That bright tip, it pulls a lot of those bluegill to your bait when you throw in there, and as a result the bass kind of swim over to see what's going on, what all these bluegill are huddling up about, and as the bass gets there they all kind of disperse and there's your bait in front of them. That is a better presentation to me than throwing directly at a fish and taking a chance of spooking the fish. So I really like that green pumpkin with that chartreuse tip just for that reason. It also kind of imitates color-wise a little bit closer to that bluegill, as the bluegill or these sunfish, a lot of them will have kind of that bright chartreuse tail on them. These male bluegills obviously going to have that bright orange breast, so just something bright to kind of pull that attraction to these fish. So getting away from bluegill beds, moving out just a hair deeper, and say fishing grass flats is going to be our next area. Those flats have been anywhere from 4 foot to say 10 foot of water. In that situation, it's all been about weather conditions. If we've got wind or no wind, if we've got high sun or cloudy conditions, that has dictated a lot as to what we throw. Today was a prime example of that. We had very little wind, and as a result we went with soft plastics. And it doesn't seem to matter which that you throw based on weather conditions. You can get quality bites either way. A lot of it's more so about the location than anything. But throwing these soft plastics, this is a prime example of one that we're utilizing, which is, it's a Z-Man goat. It's got a stretchy elastic, but a lightweight, and I'm not pegging it. And the reason why is, as it crawls over the top of that grass, I want the weight to pull away from the soft plastic and fall down into the grass, but I want my bait to remain on the top of the grass. And if you peg it, what will happen is obviously it's going to pull it nose down through the grass, and it's going to bury it, and it's going to be harder for these fish to find it. The only time they're going to have a chance at it is when you pull it and it pops up out of the grass and comes back across and drops back in again. So I prefer, when I'm working soft plastics, especially on a grass flat, guys, is not to peg my weight. This one is one that I'm throwing around an area that I know currently has a large population of crawfish. The next bait we've been throwing around a little bit more sparse areas of this grass. Some areas that have either really short grass or hard pan with no grass, with like little clumps here and there, but where it's hard bottom. And that's just going to be your standard shaky hit. The shaky head has put a lot of fish in the boat for us in the last couple of weeks, and I foresee that continuing to be very strong going forward. The next is, let's see, we'll go with this one. Also one that you can throw around bluegill beds, one that I was throwing beforehand around the bluegill beds, and that is just the speed worm. Again, I chartreuse the tail on that. Not pegging, guys. Keep it loose. Pulling this across the top of the grass, again, letting it set up there. This has a really hard kick, and the way that I rig that is I want that tail rigged that way to the hook, not across. So when you pull it, instead of the tail doing this, I want the tail doing this. I want it kicking more like a bluegill tail. So that's the reason why I like that up on those bluegill beds. That chartreuse tail on that thing kicking away. Those bass definitely like that presentation, but it also works very, very well out in the grass flats. The next one is going to be a baby brush hog. Again, loose, lightweight, light hook. I don't want much weight on this. I want this to stay loose and have a very slow fall to it. The brush hog has been producing some really good quality fish as well as numbers. Again, guys, on any of these soft plastics, make sure you're taking the time, add a little Thump Gel to your soft plastics. It's making a difference on whether or not we're getting these fish to hold on to our plastics. A prime example of when we don't, we had this all week, numerous times before we add Thump Gel to the baits. A lot of times I'll go out, I don't think about it right off the bat. We start throwing, and until kind of this circumstance happens, we get one that comes up and actually bites behind the hook, takes half the worm, and we end up with a nub left. Matter of fact, there's a piece of one. That's what we had left, up and around the hook shank. So, bit off below the hook. The Thump Gel, when I put it on, what I do is I don't put it all the way down the whole worm. I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to put it on the section that actually has the hook, so that when they commit to the bait, they're committing to the part that's actually got the hook. After we added the Thump Gel, the bites went down. Instead of those short strikes, it made a big difference. You think by now that I would make sure I put that on there first thing in the morning, but my brain don't function like that. It takes the reminder for that to kick in. So moving out a little bit deeper, say in that 8, 9, 10 foot of water, bumping it up in size, again keeping it loose and keeping it light, going to a full-size ribbon tail worm, the whole monster. In the shallower presentations, I do like the more natural colors. So green pumpkins, anything in that kind of green coloration, green pumpkin magic, anything like that will work very, very well. I like it like that coloration in the shallows, just because they're getting a really good view of it. As I get out deeper, I tend to lean more towards those darker colors, the purples and reds and whatnot, so that silhouette's a little bit better as you get down into that deeper water, and it's a little bit more about the silhouette of the bait. That darker presentation definitely comes into play, and we'll get into that as we get into the ledge baits. So that's pretty much it on soft plastics for the shallows. So that's with little to no wind or high bluebird skies, when those fish are not moving around and feeding very heavily. Going the opposite side of things is going to be moving baits. If I've got windy conditions, low light conditions, cloud cover, that type of situation, we're going to be picking up moving baits. And I would much rather personally throw moving baits. It wasn't the circumstance today. We had to throw soft plastics, but we're rewarded very well for our efforts with a really big bag today. Those pictures will be coming. I won't be posting them tonight because I got the videos to put up, but they'll be coming the next day or two. But anyway, Lipless has been producing some numbers as well as the occasional size. It's not been a bait of a lot of quality, but we did have one the other day. It was a 6.5, broke off unfortunately, and my client was fighting it beside the boat. It had choked it really deep. So yes, it can catch quality fish, but if you're looking for numbers, the rattle trap bite is there still, and you can get on some numbers doing that. If you're looking more for the quality bite, I would say lean more towards the next couple of baits, which is going to be a chatterbait. If you're fishing Lake Guntersville, guys, it needs to be on your deck 12 months of the year. It should never leave your deck on this lake for sure. But chatterbait, 1/2 ounce. If I'm fishing a water column that is, say, 4 to 6 foot of water, whether it's to the bottom of the lake or if it is to the tops of the grass. So the grass, you might be in 10 foot of water, but if the grass has grown 4 foot up off the bottom, that's what I'm gonna go with, is that 1/2 ounce. I've got 6 foot of water column basically that I'm working. If I get to where I am working a little bit deeper water column, say in that 6 to 10 foot of water, I'm gonna bump it up in size and I'm gonna go to the 3/4 ounce. The 3/4 is really, really good quality bait for big fish, guys. It probably has a harder thump than the 1/2 ounce or 3/8, just due to the fact that that head doesn't really move, so you feel the vibration off that blade really, really well. And you can get it down to fish that a lot of guys are not getting that bait down to. So don't be afraid to pick up the 3/4. I know a lot of guys lean more towards the lighter chatter baits, but I'm telling you that heavier chatter bait is money. So again, 3/4 ounce chatter bait. Mix up your colors. What I typically do is, in that situation, I'm looking for the bait fish to kind of tell me which one to throw. If I'm in an area and I'm seeing threadfin, gizzard shad, I'm going to lean more towards the shad colors. If I'm in an area and I'm not seeing any at all, but I know there's either crawfish or bluegill in the area, and the bluegill, you'll notice if you've got any form of live, as you're trolling in the grass, you'll see the bluegill lift up, move in front of you, and dive right back down. In that situation, I'm going to be picking up that green pumpkin and throwing it around. Last but not least is these same areas. If I'm in really thick grass and a chatterbait gets hard to throw, is going to be my 4-wheel drive. This bait, you can throw it in clean areas, you can throw it in the thick grass. With this flashy swimmer hook, this thing will go through some of the thickest grass and come out clean. And as you guys know, this lake is full of grass, so it's hard to find a presentation sometimes as the grass gets thick that will fish efficiently through that. And that will not only get bit, but it's going to get you those big bites. That bait is more so oriented towards drawing those bigger strikes. And if I'm looking for quality fish, that's definitely going to be on the deck. So that's primarily it for those shallow grass flats. Whether it's windy, moving baits, if it's flat calm or high sun, I'm going to be leaning more towards those soft plastics. Next is going to be moving out again even farther, say getting to that 12 foot plus, which is going to be more so either outside grass edges or complete ledge oriented baits. If I'm out on the ledges, you've got to have a crankbait on the deck. Crankbait is definitely got some serious drawing power to it. If it's a school that has not been fished, you know, you're the first one on the school for the day, it definitely is a dynamite bait to throw in there. If you've pulled up on it and you know that somebody just left it, I'm probably going to shy away from that just due to the fact I know that they've probably already seen it, and I'm going to go with something a little bit more natural. And there, I'm going to be probably picking up something a lot smaller, a lot less pressure, more natural presentation, and that's a 3/8 ounce guppy head underspin from Dirty Jigs. It's got the Little Dipper Reaction Innovations as my soft plastic, and there is an issue with this, is that it's salt impregnated and it will tear up very easily. You catch 1 or 2 fish and these are toast. So if you want to make them last, guys, Take some Avid Angler Solutions fishing glue, put a drop. What I usually do is put it on the keeper. So it's got a lead keeper on there. I'm going to put it directly on the keeper, and as I push it up there, you're going to get some of that glue that will remain on the keeper, and then the rest of it's going to get pushed up and around the head. The other thing that I do is I'll take scissors and snip just the tip of that soft plastic off, so that I get more of a blunt, flat surface to be able to push up against that head. Otherwise, you've got a very narrow tapered point that comes on these when they're poured. So again, make that adjustment based on kind of fishing pressure. Next is going to be that big worm that we were talking about. And on this one, it's very important, guys, to adjust your weight based on the depth that you're fishing and the current flow. If you're fishing a lot of current or fishing out deeper, you're going to have to go to a heavier weight. But I'm throwing a full-size old monster worm. Again, darker colors. We're getting down deeper water, less light penetration. You want it to silhouette a little bit better. And on a TVA, anything in those reds and purples, dark colors, is going to be really good presentation down there in that deeper water. But keep it as light as you possibly can, where you're still maintaining bottom contact. But I have experienced that a lot of times the heavier weight that you go, the less time that they tend to hold it in their mouth. That lighter weight seems like they'll pick it up and they'll swim around with that thing for quite a while, especially if it's got Thump Gel on there. They will hold it and swim around with it. But I was throwing a 3/4 ounce last week, and as I was dragging it around, I'd get hit, reel down, pull up to check it, and they were gone that fast. I cut that 3/4 ounce weight off because I was in slack current at that time, throwing up around more grassy areas. Put that lighter weight on there, and all of a sudden it was just like clockwork. They started holding the bait and started hooking up. So keep that in mind. Adjust your weights based on current. You don't want to be heavier than you have to be. Same is true with the football jig, which is my next bait. Football jig, I usually will try to start out, if I'm in, say, 12 to 18 foot of water, I'm going to try to get away with a 1/2 ounce unless the current's pumping. If the current's pumping, I'm going to bump it up to a 3/4 ounce. If I'm getting out even deeper, say in the 22, 25, even 27, 28 foot of water, obviously you're going to have to bump it up to either a 3/4 or a 1 ounce if there's current flowing. Next bait is, again, going back to the shaky head. So again, this is one that we've been working in sparse grass or on the ledges where there is just hard pan. That hard bottom, a shaky head works really, really well. Clicks are in and around those shells. We've been getting a lot of fish off of that lately, and I would highly recommend keeping that one on the deck this time of year. So all of those ledge-oriented baits that we just discussed are more so bottom-oriented. These are for situations where you've got current flowing and the fish are glued to the bottom. If TVA cuts the current off and the current goes slack, and those fish get up and start to suspend and move around, you're going to have to use a bait that's more up in the water column. So going with suspended baits is going to make a big difference for you. First and foremost is going to be a hair jig. There's a lot of different versions out there. I tried to, again, keep this as light as possible. I really like a 1/2 ounce is probably my primary weight. I'll bump it up to, a 5/8 if I need to, but that's about the heaviest that I'm going to go. I like that slower fall on it than that quick drop. Obviously it's pick your poison, whatever you want to do, but for my personal preference, I like that 1/2 ounce as my go-to. The next bait is going to be the flutter spoon. Again, you're working this for those fish that are suspended. You're going to throw it out, let it get all the way to the bottom, and you're hopping it up off the bottom. They obviously sell these in 3, 4, 5, 6 inch, 8 inch. So pick whichever one that you are comfortable with. If you've not thrown one, I would say start small. It's going to get you more bites. and you'll gain confidence in it, and also kind of gain some stamina, because trying to go out there and yank an 8-inch flutter spoon, if you've never done it before with a heavy rod and heavy line, it will wear you out very quickly, and you're going to put it down, give up on it, and think, oh, that's just a waste of money. That 8-inch flutter spoon will absolutely put some hogs in the boat, but it's going to take a little bit of time and experience to kind of work your way up to that 8-inch spoon. So if you're inexperienced with it, start with the smaller ones, work your way up to those bigger spoons as you get comfortable with it. That said, when these fish hit the flutter spoon, you need to have that heavy rod and heavy line, because if you try to fight these fish like you do with any other lure, you're going to get your heart broke. When they hook up, you better be willing to winch them to the boat and boat flip these fish. So you got to have a heavy hook, heavy line, and heavy rod. Pull them all the way to the boat very quickly, and get them in. If you allow them any time at all to play and come up and kind of shake their head, that's a lot of weight on that spoon sitting out there flopping around, and they will throw it, and you may very well lose your PB because of it. Last but not least is going to be the topwater bite. As far as the frog, I have not thrown it this week. I did a couple weeks ago. We had a couple blow-ups on it, and I had mentioned that that bite was coming. Well, I got reports this week that apparently it has finally gotten here, and there is a frog bite going on. Again, I did not throw it, so I'm just reporting to you what I heard. There's not a ton of grass this year, guys. TVA has definitely put a hurting on the grass. They continue to spray, and they are killing this grass like crazy. So there's not a lot out there. So if you've not been here and you don't know where the grass mats are, and you're coming here to frog, you may spend some time just running around looking for the right type of grass to be able to frog. So again, not something that I'm personally doing, but just figured that I would put that out there in case any of you were interested in that. As far as the topwater bite, again, the spook continues to play. If you're out fishing, it doesn't matter if you're on a grass flat, river, channel bar, anything like that. Occasionally you're going to see a big fish just come up and just blow up on a gizzard shad. That bite might be only one fish, but it's going to be a big one. So again, quality over quantity. You know, it's up to you how you want to proceed. Is that going to get you tons and tons of bites? No, but it's going to get you the right bite. What I usually do is try to keep it available, keep it on the deck. If I see one blow up, I'm going to throw over there, maybe work that area for a few minutes, give it an opportunity, you know, see if the fish will come back up, or if there may be a couple fish in that area, kind of in that mindset that they're looking up and looking to feed. If I am going to pursue that bite rather than the spook, I'm going to be picking up the bull shad wake, or the bull gill wake. Both of these baits are definitely big bass baits. Those are going to be your fish that are out there looking for gizzard shad to feed on. Those big blow-ups that we were just talking about. So if you're interested in going out and going for quality over quantity, that's definitely a bait that I would recommend you guys putting in your hand and putting in some time with it. Once you learn that bite, it is addictive. It's not for everybody. It is a big heavy bait, heavy line, heavy rod type situation, and it will wear you out trying to throw that thing for hours and hours for the day. But if you put your dues in, build a little stamina, just like it, you know, some of these other presentations, they will wear you out. Deep cranking, flutter spoon, even the hair jig, you know, sitting there whining very, very quickly, over and over and over again, will absolutely wear you out. So any of these presentations, they yield big fish, because obviously there's fewer people doing it. It is harder for, you know, presentation. So you know, choose what works for you, but hopefully some of this information helps you out going into the week ahead. Hope to see you guys out on the water, and until next week, tight lines.